The DC universe has some of the best and most iconic characters of all time. Their comics have been a household name for decades, and this made the start of their cinematic universe feel that much more promising, considering the fact that their first movies grossed sums around the billions. And around 2010, the path for DC looked bright. They were leading Marvel in all aspects, losing only in comic book sales in the US. But their animated series were amazing, and to be honest, they still are. My favorite recent DC animated movie is Dark Apocalypse War, which has been out 5 years ago, but it doesn't matter, still a recent movie, and it is fucking amazing. And I also believe DC is better than Marvel, but it is a personal preference. Somewhere along the line, they failed.
I told you. Steppenwolf would fail.
Marvel managed to create a full circle and close up the storyline with Endgame, while DC failed. And I have an idea why that might have happened and what could have they done differently. So let's take a look at DC's start and end. My books, on the other side, and Dark Folklore are available for just $1 for some time. So if you love reading amazing fiction, give them a try. In the early days of the rivalry, Marvel pioneered the idea of a shared universe, and DC immediately followed with the Man of Steel. But they had one advantage in front of Marvel. They had all the rights to all of their original characters, while Marvel didn't have the rights for Spider-Man, X-Men and the Fantastic Four, which meant DC should have gotten years ahead. Somehow, however, they stayed somewhat equal at the box office. Batman vs Superman was one of the most anticipated movies of all time, and was set to rival Avengers 1. While it did over 800 million in the box office, that's where the problem with DC started. The movie didn't got the best fan and critic reviews. Even worse, Marvel's version of Batman v Superman in Civil War was much better received. This is probably the pivotal point where DC started panicking. Marvel took their time, played the long game, and built a universe step by step, 5 solo films before the Avengers. DC jumped the gun. After just one solo movie they were already pushing Justice League cameos, trying to fast track their own endgame moment without the build-up. And when the first sign of trouble hit, divisive reviews, fan pushbacks, Warner Bros. Panicked. They started second-guessing directors, rewriting scripts mid-production and turning films into Frankenstein projects without no clear tone. They brought Joss Whedon to reshape Justice League after Snyder stepped down due to personal tragedy, thinking they could inject that Marvel-style humor.
No, you can't. Don't even try.
But instead of fixing the problem, it exposed the lack of vision even more. Meanwhile, Marvel was closing the book with Endgame, a complete, satisfying arc for their characters, while DC couldn't even decide which version of Superman they wanted to keep. They fired some of their iconic actors, and the universe never really had a spine. In the same time, Marvel kept scoring over DC. Black Widow came out around the same time as Suicide Squad, and despite its bad reviews, it still grossed $378 million, double that of Suicide Squad. While DC kept swapping tones, actors and creative teams, each new plan contradicting the last. And that constant reboot energy burned the fans out. People didn't know what counted anymore, what was canon, what wasn't, who is staying, who is gone. They showed they can make solo movies with Wonder Woman 1, Aquaman 1 and Man of Steel. The stories were cool and original, but here is where Marvel excelled. After they had all their solo movies, they started building the full puzzle with Civil War, Age of Ultron, even though it wasn't the best received movie, and then Avengers and Avengers Endgame and so forth. So they wrapped the storyline with decisive actions, while DC had 2 Justice League movies that covered the same part of the storyline. I personally like the Snyder Cut far better, and so do other people, but they should have decided which of their many versions of the Justice League from comics they would go for and build all the solo movies around it. People already loved storylines like Rock of Ages or Final Crisis and etc. Now with James Gunn at the helm, maybe there is still hope. He's proven he understands weird characters and emotional storytelling. Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad showed what a consistent tone and vision can look like, even though Suicide Squad was not very well received. The point I think where they should have set for one storyline is probably as they were making Batman vs Superman movie. If they wanted to keep the darker tone of the characters, which I particularly very much enjoy, they should have established in a better way the Batman vs Superman movie, and from there they should have followed the storyline of Rock of Ages, for example, where the League faces multiple threats. Lex Luthor forms a new syndicate to fight the Justice League, Earth is in danger because a cosmic weapon called Megadon is headed for Earth, a being of pure destruction that drives civilizations to madness. A portion of the League, Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, Aquaman and Flash gets thrown far into the future, into a timeline where Darkseid has already won. We actually saw some type of this vision in the Snyder Cut, but unfortunately it never got finished and probably never will. In this version, Batman is portrayed as a strategic genius always one step ahead. In the future he becomes a grim resistance leader. Superman is a symbol of hope, even in apocalyptic visions. Morrison writes him as a near mythic figure, and all the others are much better presented to the audience. From there they can mix the storyline if they want to keep the darker tone, put the Justice League Dark Apocalypse War plot for the final, their version of Endgame. In this plot they decide to fight Darkseid on his own soil, on Apocalypse, thinking he wouldn't expect it, but he did, and he makes the entire League his slaves. He then conquers Earth, then eventually the Flash turns back time and they form a better plan and manage to win. I think this would have gathered the fans behind the question if the League is about to survive or not, give them that edge like Endgame did for Marvel. The Avengers actually lost, and that made the film feel that much more realistic with actual stakes involved. There was struggle, there was change, there was defeat, and eventually the satisfying victory. In a parallel universe, probably the Dceu got the right approach and managed to compete with Marvel for much longer. Sadly, we are living in the wrong one. Let me know down in the comments which version of the Justice League you would wanted to see get introduced into the cinematic universe. Like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and see you next time.